This is Support is Sexy, episode 317, and we're wrapping up our series on Why Are You Hiding? Today we're talking about the repeat performance. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I interview inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and their lessons to help you take your business and your life to the next level and create something sexy. Here we go. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm happy to have you here. It just would not be the same without you. And if you're listening to this in real time, happy Friday. We are wrapping up our series from this week on Why Are You Hiding? And what I want to talk about today is the repeat performance. You know, we started talking about why are you hiding, and it was really inspired by a question that I received from a coach who asked me that question, why are you hiding? Which sent me into not a spiral, but I will say it definitely moved me to think very seriously about how I'm showing up or not in my business. And that is why I wanted to share it with you. Sometimes we're not clear, not aware of the blind spots or places where we might be hiding and we're not showing up in our businesses and in our lives. You think you're doing it all, and yet you're not fully present, right? So that's what we've been talking about all week. We started the week off talking about imposter syndrome, something that you've probably heard people mention here and there. It's becoming more and more a part of the conversation. This idea that when you get to a certain level of success in your business, your life, whatever you're doing, your career, and you feel like at any moment you're going to be found out for being a fraud. So some of us hide so we don't have to experience that, or so we don't go any further. We feel like we're imposters. We're going to be found out. So we might shrink instead of growing as big as we can be, again, because of that fear, that false sense of being a fraud or being found out for what you don't know. And as we talked about this week, there's something that everyone doesn't know. You have your specialty, and then there are things that you want to find out, and you will close that knowledge gap. You're not afraid to go out there and find out what you don't know. The next thing we talked about this week is, are you good enough? Very real concerns, insecurities that we all have them, no matter how successful people are. We all go through this period, these moments, whether it's a moment or a longer period of time, where we might question, am I good enough to do this thing? It might not even be, am I good enough as a person overall in my life? When you're venturing into a new space, new thing, everyone is human and has that moment where they might be wondering, am I good enough to get this done? The difference is the person who shrinks and doesn't even try, and the person like you are going to be, who shows up, moves forward, gives it a try. Be brave in that moment, because that is what courage is. It's not the absence of fear, not the absence of insecurities. It's moving forward, showing up, and doing it afraid. The next thing we talked about is the fear of failure, something else that's very real for a lot of us. No matter how confident you are in doing things, you might have a moment where you have this fear of failure, or you might not be doing anything because you have this fear of failure, which can sometimes be a paralyzing fear, depending on how much you believe it, how much power that you give that fear, right? Fear is that kind of emotion. If you give it too much power, it can cripple you, paralyze you, keep you from moving in the direction that you know other parts of you know deep down inside that this is the way you're supposed to go. But that fear, if you allow it to be, it can be stronger. So we talked about the fear of failure. And then in yesterday's episode, we talked about the fear of success, which is something a lot of us might not even think about. The fear of success. It doesn't even sound like it makes sense, but some of us have that fear of getting out there in the spotlight because it's hot in that spotlight. And in that spotlight, people see all of you, and you might be more aware of your flaws or your perceived flaws. You might be more aware of your perceived flaws and think that people are looking at you now in a different way. And maybe they are looking at you in a different way, and maybe they are judging you. But so what? Does this mean now that you're going to shrink back behind the curtain and hide, or are you going to stand out there, enjoy your success, share your successes, share your journey, share the failures, share the fears? All of that can be a part of your success. Or do you worry about having to keep up this facade and you continue to hide? So today I want to talk about the repeat performance. Some of us, we get to this point where either we're doing something incredible and we're worried that we're not going to be able to, quote unquote, repeat that performance or maintain that. Something else we talked about this week, this idea you're worried about, will you be able to sustain whatever you gain? Well, the fear of the repeat performance is sort of like that. You're thinking, well, I don't want to do this thing, or I'm not going to accomplish this goal because I might not ever be able to do it again. This is something that Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Big Magic and, of course, Eat, Pray, Love, talked about in her TED Talk. So make sure that you look that up. I'm going to link to it in the show notes for this episode. But Elizabeth Gilbert talked about that idea that she wrote this incredible book, Eat, Pray, Love, which you probably have heard of. Julia Roberts was in the movie. She talked about being at the Oscars. Well, the fact, too, that Julia Roberts played her in the movie, which is incredible. So she had this huge, powerful book that made millions of dollars for her and for other companies, and that was really out in the world and doing amazing things and changing lives. And then after that, you have to write your next book. And then, of course, the next and the next. And she talked about this fear of not being able to repeat that performance. But did it need to? Did it have to be a repeat performance? We put those pressures on ourselves to do something that was actually, in that case, a phenomenon, to do that again when that might not even be necessary. That thing exists on its own. It had its own power, its own influence. This is something else that, we've heard tragically artists like Whitney Houston, God bless her, artists like Whitney Houston who were pursuing that high note again, being able to hit that note again. This is something that in our own way, we have this highlight of our career. We've hit all the high notes, and then we're afraid of going back out there, or we become desperate in this pursuit of hitting that high note again. So I want to remind you that you don't have to worry about the repeat performance. First, let's start from this point. Sometimes we're worried about whether we're going to be able to repeat a success that we haven't even had. So we're worried about, well, if I get to that point, will I be able to do it again? Well, you know what? You're worrying about problems that you don't have. Let's get to that first success. Let's get to that first win. Let's get to that spotlight first before we worry about what's beyond that. We're worried about the whole staircase instead of focusing on that first step. So sometimes before we even get to the big performance, the moment, the high note, we're worried about what comes next and if we'll be able to meet that expectation, which causes us to shrink and hide. We don't even want to get there because we're worried about what's next. And now, if you are in a position where you are in the middle of a success and experiencing some fantastic moment, who knows what comes next? Of course, you prepare, you do your best in order to have not even a repeat performance, but another fantastic experience. Let's say it that way. Don't worry about the repeat performance. Worry about having another fantastic experience, which might look completely different from what you were doing in that first place. In the case of Elizabeth Gilbert, okay, the book, that particular book wasn't as big as the one previous, but look at the career that she's had as a speaker and that she has as a speaker and still as a fantastic writer. Big Magic, if you haven't read it, is a powerful and wonderful book, but that continued to grow in a way that you never imagined. So that early success or that early thing or that first thing, whatever you're experiencing with that success, that was supposed to do what that was supposed to do. Create the opportunities, create the impact, the influence, the highlight, the spotlight for you, whatever it was supposed to do. It did its thing. Now it's time for you to move on and do some other things. Not repeat that success, even if that was a glorious, fun, and magical time. Not repeat that success, but move on to what that success created. What is the byproduct of all of that? And what can you do with that? How can you make that, again, a great experience, not a repeat performance? And this doesn't just go for, if you're building your business. Of course, we focus on that because we're all about women entrepreneurs. But also, even if you're in a highlight or a great time in your career, I've experienced this, and I know other women, career women, who have talked about this. During the time that I worked at Essence Magazine, this was back in the early 2000s, 1990s, early 2000s, just to show you how long I've been in the game, but it was an amazing time. I've never had an experience like that at a company, and I've worked at some really fantastic and great companies. But during the time that I was at Essence, and I spoke about this recently on a podcast that I appeared on with Ayana Angel called Switch, Pivot, or Quit. So make sure you check out that episode. She and I talked about my time at Essence. In any case, it was really a coming of age of me as a woman, as a Black woman, as a journalist, just an amazing time for me in my 20s. I don't think I ever had, again, any kind of experience like that, that feeling of really being of service to your audience, really wanting to impact women, inspire women, help them move forward by meeting them where they are and then helping to take them to the next level. I never felt a mission like that. Oddly enough, I'm realizing it in this moment until now. This is 20 years later. So I never felt that again in that same way. And imagine that all of the positions and companies and all of these fantastic things that I went on to do from Essence, nothing ever felt like those years there. Also, it was the 90s. Money was everywhere, not even just for your position, but promotions, parties, private jets. It was crazy. It was a wonderful time. I'm glad I was there. But repeating that, it's not going to look the same. And I don't want it to look the same. It was a precious, precious time for me. And that's the thing about staying in the moment and being present. You worry about that repeat performance of what's coming next, and you miss what's now, what's going on right now. How wonderful is your career right now? Enjoy this moment, cherish this experience, or if it was a past experience like my experience at Essence, cherish that time. Know that it's possible to have it again in a different way. I know I'm going to experience it in a different way because I have that feeling right now in a completely different business. Still the same industry, media, but it's a different business. Talking to you all through the podcast, through the mastermind, and so many other ways that I could not have imagined. It didn't exist actually during the time that I was at Essence in the 90s and early 2000s. So who knows what it's going to look like. Hold on to the feeling of that moment, the passion that you have, the success that you experience, whatever it is of that moment. Don't worry about not being able to repeat it again. Think about, be happy about, be grateful for the fact of the possibility of you having another amazing experience. Don't hide because you're worried about the repeat performance. Don't worry about problems that you don't have. And if you're in the moment of that success, don't worry that you'll never be able to have this again. It might not happen. In fact, it won't happen exactly like it is now because it rarely does. That's not life. Life continues to evolve. You'll never be the age that you are now. You'll never be the same experience that you have now. Every day you gain a little bit more. So it won't be exactly the same. But gosh, it could still be an amazing experience. So don't hide because you're worried about the repeat performance. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the series this week on Why Are You Hiding? Let me know on social media at Elayne Fluker, at Support is Sexy. I would love to hear from you, hear your feedback, hear if these series work for you. A lot of you have told me via email that they do, so that's fantastic. I'm happy to hear that. But let me know why you're hiding or how this has helped you in any way move beyond this idea of hiding. And before we go, I do want to read to you a passage that I absolutely love. It's on my vision board. It's something that I've read actually on the podcast before, and I'm sure you've heard it before from spiritual teacher Marianne Williamson, author, spiritual teacher. She wrote A Return to Love, Reflections of Principles of A Course in Miracles. And from that book, there's this passage which people cite often. She says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us. It is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others." So again, that's from Marianne Williamson. I want you to take that in, go back and listen to it again if you need to, look it up, read it if you need to. But it's so powerful that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure, and that there is nothing enlightened about shrinking or hiding so that other people will not feel insecure around you. So I want you to remember that if you're listening to this in real time, remember that as you go into your weekend, into your next week. be powerful, show up for yourself, for your business and your career and your family. There's nothing enlightened or empowered about shrinking to keep yourself safe and comfortable or to make other people feel comfortable around you. All right, so now before you go, one thing I do want to mention, we are going to accomplish our goals in the next 90 days. As of Monday, October 2nd, there will be 90 days left in this year, if you can believe it. 2017 is wrapping on up. So as of October 2nd, there'll be 90 days left. So we're doing a free challenge to help you accomplish your goal in 90 days. It's going to be fun, nothing too heavy. Want to have fun at the end of the year. We all have goals or to-dos or things that have been on our list all year, maybe even since the year before. No judgment is there, but let's do something fun and work together to move forward and accomplish our goals together. I'm all about support, if you haven't guessed. We're all about support, all about accountability, which really helps all of us move forward with having support and people there to say, how's it going? What can I do? This is the deadline. This is what you said you were going to do by this time. How can we help you make it happen? That's what we're going to do as part of this 90-day challenge. You'll get a video from me every Monday. That's my commitment. A video from me every Monday talking about a different part of support, challenge, goals, and all that stuff, vision as well. And then help and support throughout the week. We're going to be accountable to each other, help each other finish strong for 2017, because accomplishing your goal and more importantly, keeping promises to yourself feels amazing. It's exhilarating and it sets you up for your wins next year. All right. So to find out more about it, go to 90days2nextlevel.com. Very simple. The number 90days2 nextlevel.com. 90 days to nextlevel.com. Just enter your email. It'll sign you up and I'll send you a welcome message and a link to join the Facebook group. Make sure you join the group because that's where we're going to interact. All right. 90 days to nextlevel.com. Let's finish strong and have some fun in 2017. I don't know about you, but I need some fun. It's been a little bit of a crazy year for all of us, especially in America, but everywhere in the world. It's been a little bit crazy, but we're going to bring that energy into something fun and support each other going into the new year. 90 days to nextlevel.com. Thank you all so much for listening. You know, I appreciate you. If you're loving the podcast, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Wherever you're listening, please subscribe so you don't miss a thing. I want to make sure I'm here for you. Every time you download something new on your phone, Monday through Friday, you'll have a new episode of Support is Sexy. All right. So until next time, you know what to do. Go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.